Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm Nasser Rabadi, the leading Arabic voice in horror fiction, a 2-year veteran of the comic book industry, the world's most stumbling, fumbling, talking man, great big horror movie fan, and I've got 3 new books up for pre-order that you can buy right now. If you like slasher movies, these are the books for you. 100 Days Till Halloween, my new book series. It's down below in the description. So, when I watched season 1 of the Unsolved Mysteries Netflix reboot, I read a lot of Reddit theories, and I thought that for season 2, since I was going to read these theories anyways, I'd do some videos on them, and if you guys want, I'll go back and do these for season 1. Let me give you guys a rundown of season 2, episode 2, of my thoughts before we get into these theories. Usually, with these cases, there's a suspect or somebody fishy or a clue that, even if it doesn't lead to the killer, gives us all a good idea of who it was. But in this case, there are no suspects, and unfortunately, the real identity of Jennifer Fairgate is unknown. So we don't know of anyone who would want her dead. We don't know anything about her. In 1995, this woman's body was found in a hotel in Oslo, Norway, and Jennifer Fairgate was the fake name she checked in under. Her death was ruled a suicide, but in this episode, they talked about the lack of gunshot residue and the lack of blood on her hand and the way she was holding the gun that leaves a lot of doubt as to whether she actually did kill herself or not. The serial number was scratched off the gun, and there was no information about her whatsoever in the hotel room. And what's weird is that by her dental work, they determined she had a wealthy background. So what was she doing here under a fake name and with no identification? And why has nobody recognized her? You'd think for somebody with a wealthy background, they would recognize them. They would just know. Like, you'd think she would be sort of popular. Like, you would think somebody would recognize her. And I think it's just really weird that nobody would. What stands out to me the most in a Jane Doe case is, how is it possible to not recognize someone? The sad thing is that there's a family out there whose daughter is dead, whose sister is dead, and they don't know it. There was a line in this episode where somebody said, everyone deserves to have their name on their tombstone, and that was really heartbreaking. Honestly, I don't know where I stand on this one. In the episode, some people suggested she came there to die, or that she was a secret agent, but nobody really knows, and I'm curious what you guys think. And without further ado, let's get into the Reddit theories, okay? So this right here says, Volume 2, Episode 2, A Death in Oslo. After checking in at a luxury hotel with no ID or credit card, a woman dies from a gunshot. Years later, her identity and her death remain a mystery. Let's see what people are saying. We got Killface Ooh saying, so when they were like, now we're going to dig her up, I was really hoping for him to be like, and she wasn't there. Now that would have been spooky. Let's see, Hanava's Eel says, if she hadn't been there, I would have 100% been sold that she was working for the government. Now the fact that her body was there is the thing that makes me believe she wasn't. I hope they do one of those familial DNA search things like they did with the very mysterious mom Jane Doe from Texas that committed suicide. Kemji replies to that, if they have the DNA, why don't they put it into Ancestry DNA or something similar? I've often wondered why they don't do this more often. Assuming they would easily be able to find a third or fourth cousin, if not closer. Well-read Susan replies, they did run her DNA in a familial database, but there were no matches. Weird. Jennifer Walters replies, clearly a secret agent time traveler, no other reason. At least some trace of her DNA would be found in a family member. Liliana replies, her family members would have needed to use Ancestry Search at some point, and not everyone does this. I've never done it, or it could be she's from a very small family, somewhere remote. I would think that at the very least, the 5th or 6th cousin would have used Ancestry at some point, but maybe not. You see, this is where it gets tricky, because, yeah, you would think that, if you're looking for at least the 5th or 6th cousin, you could find something. And it's just weird that there's just no trace of her, like, as if she came out of nowhere. Like, I know this is the sort of joke or meme that they use for everything, like when Jennifer here says, clearly a secret agent time traveler, and I don't believe that at all, but I'm just saying it almost does feel like that. It almost does feel like it's just a person from someplace else, from the Twilight Zone, from another dimension, from some other existence. It's really weird how somebody could just live a life like this lady, like they determined she was 30 years old. Like, it's weird that, like, she could have lived and then died, and then nobody recognized her. Just nobody spoke up. Nobody said anything. Nobody's like, yes, this is this person, and we know her. Nobody ever said, that's our daughter, our sister, or whoever. That's my friend. Nobody ever said that. That's so just strange to me, how somebody could just go through life like that and die, and just nobody identifies her. It really does bother me. Marta1305 says they keep asking how she's able to check in without ID or credit card. How about we just ask the receptionist who claims she saw the man with Jennifer? Also, I get how someone could enter the locked room, but how could you leave the room and door would lock behind you? Cute Bandicoot replies, that part was really frustrating. Did they not have on file all the employees who checked in to work that day, who confirmed her reservation, who said hello to her from the desk? That's literally what hotel staff are there for. What did they mean? How did she check in? That's another one that had me pulling my hair out. And the thing is I believe there's probably like, there's definitely like information on this. Like there's definitely the people there that were there when she checked in, but like, and I'm sure they must have tried to like get to the bottom of this, but why did they leave that out of the documentary? Like, I get it, they only had 45, 50 minutes, an hour, whatever, but I'm sure that they could have at least told us briefly, we tried to figure it out, but we couldn't because of this. Like, this is making me pull my hair out because yes, how did she check in with a fake name, without an ID, without a credit card? Just how? This is just, it's frustrating. Let's see. Skirp replies to that saying, okay, so in a lot of European hotels, Norwegian ones included, you need to identify yourself when checking into a hotel. If you're a foreigner, you need to check in with a passport. How she was able to check into the hotel without a passport, the cops don't know. That's strange, because as you say, they should have known who worked that day and was checking her in. Then again, knowing what I know about how bad many employees are at following the procedures, it doesn't surprise me too much that there's no log of who worked that shift, camera footage, or passport. That's a good one too. Could it just be incompetence? This is the thing. I want you guys to let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. How did she check in? Was it incompetence? And if they were competent, how was she gonna get around it? How did she think she would get around it? Would she just go like from hotel to hotel until she was like, okay, this guy doesn't know what he's doing, I'm in? Like, and I'm pretty sure this was like a fancier hotel, like a real nice hotel is how they made it out to be in the episode. Like, this wasn't just some like any hotel. It's not like it was some small like dump somewhere. Like, it was a nice hotel, and it's like, how does she do this? Like, that's why when people say like maybe she was a secret agent, well, that doesn't seem possible to me. But then when it's like stuff like this, like these little details, it's like, well, maybe, it's got me, thinking about it. But I don't really think she was a secret agent, because like, it appears that she stayed in her room a lot. Like, so I don't know really what secret agent things she would be up to in her room. Like, there was no evidence of like anybody else in her room either. So I know people might be like, oh, well, maybe she was an escort or something, but like, there was like no evidence of any person. That's why there's no suspects. Like, there was like no clues, like no identification, no signs of people. Like, that's the really weird part, is like, what was going on in there? Let's see. Beanie B11 replies, the point, though, is that why couldn't they have just asked the receptionist on the clock at the time? How is the hotel so poorly run, especially apparently such a nice one, that they can't hold anyone accountable for checking someone in without ID? Why can't they just ask him/her why they did that? I feel like this season leaves a lot of open questions like that, and I have to agree that it's frustrating. It really is. It's annoying. Like, I want to know this now. I want to know who checked her in and how she was able to do that. Sherlock Beaver, with a long paragraph here, says, the Norwegian journalist featured on who wrote this article, I'm not going to click the link, also made a documentary I watched. Hopefully it's linked in that article, but the front desk guy and his supervisor, the one who thinks she saw a man, both give their account of the woman being at reception. Neither one of them bothers to explain how the hell this lady checked in with no ID. I just want to punch everyone. I don't care how busy it is, it would be remarkable that someone attempted to check in with no ID and no form of payment. At the very least, it would require a supervisor to approve the check-in. In the article and documentary, it is revealed that the woman actually was supposed to check out Friday, but she went to the front desk after she had been gone from the hotel for the 20 to 24 hours since Thursday, extended her stay, and received 2 new room keys. Still with no ID and no form of payment. What? Also, the article and documentary shows Jennifer was sent and accepted the message to see the cashier, not once but twice, but 3 times in 3 days. Yet her room key was never shut off. I just want to scream. Something smells so rotten about this. Now, you guys, like, this is me. This has me looking over my shoulder right now. I'm looking over my shoulder into my room here, and I'm a little, like, freaked out now. Like, I want to know what's going on. Let's see. Dallas Mystery Lover replies to that. Oh man, with a ginormous comment. Let's see how much of this we get through. You were absolutely correct, at least as far as the way American hotels operate. I was security director for a Marriott hotel a few years ago. It is not impossible for a front desk clerk to check in a guest without a credit card on file or with no ID. But the 2 or 3 times this happened at my hotel, the front desk clerk was ordered to do it by someone high up in management. One time, a front desk clerk checked in some friends of the head of human resources, as she had instructed the clerk to do, with no card on file and no ID on file. The clerk was told by the HR director that she would vouch for the guests and to bill anything to her. This was very much against policy, and the friends ended up trashing the room, getting drunk and disorderly, and thrown out of the hotel by me. As a matter of fact, the HR director was terminated. Another time, an elderly man checked in. He did have ID and credit card on file, but every time it came time to pay his bill, he would extend his stay another couple of weeks. The night manager was okaying him to do this and just bumping his bill to be paid upon checkout. On the new checkout date, every time a front desk clerk or the night auditor would ask about this long stay guest's bill, the night manager would instruct the clerk to go ahead and extend him. He took responsibility for it. The problem is, with the checkout date constantly pushed for another few weeks, the checkout never came. No one ever charged the man's card. Well, after 5 months of the man living at the hotel, the night manager finally decided to tell the man he needed to pay his bill before he would be allowed to extend his stay again. As one might have expected, the man's card was declined. The man owed about $12,000. He was arrested for theft of service, and the night manager was terminated. So yes, it is theoretically possible for a front desk clerk or someone to overlook the proper checkout and pay system and let someone in, but it's extremely rare and almost always results in something going wrong, and the person who okayed the deviation from proper procedures gets terminated. In short, no clerk would ever risk breaking policy this way unless specifically ordered to do so by someone in upper management. A clerk has to log in under his own personal ID code to be able to check in a guest, and if the guest profile shows no credit card on file, that clerk is terminated. So it would be career suicide for any clerk to do this. Bottom line, it is extremely unlikely that this was an oversight by a front desk clerk. Someone in upper management most certainly vouched for Jennifer Fairgate's check-in. So I skipped a few replies, but Feed the Corpse says, if the hotel was really upscale and hosted diplomats, you would think security would be tight. And Sing a Little Singalong says, I was thinking this might be the reason for their lack of cooperation. Better to obfuscate than admit security is not as tight as you want people to believe. Nothing Adds Up says, also, high-end hotels are generally required to be discreet because power people really don't like others knowing what or who they are doing. I think that is also how she got in without much fuss. Could have well been a sex worker that regularly serviced clients in the hotel. That's another theory people have, but it just doesn't seem like that to me because there was no evidence of anyone else being in that room with her. That's the weird part. Is like, what was she doing in there alone with all that time? Let's see. Green Yoga Day says, it would make sense that she'd be able to check into the hotel without a passport if she was actually an agent. She probably already had a room set up for her. Also, why the hell did the security guy not go into the room after the gun was fired in a hotel room? Yeah, that's another thing. Is man, there was the guy in the hallway that heard the gunshot, and why did he not go in? If he went in, he could have caught whoever did it. Because I don't know what happened, but I really do not believe she killed herself. But let me go on with the comment. So this dude continues, but instead he ran away, and there's 15 minutes unaccounted for that someone easily could have gotten out if they were trained, and they didn't check the videos. How would police not check the videos? It is most likely this unsolved mystery is a government cover-up. So many elements of the case are coincidentally being ignored. When checking in, she had an alias. There was no way to identify her. Even in the room, there were no belongings that could be used to identify her. Let's see. Mahomesy says, the security agent wasn't armed. I don't blame him for getting back up first, but yeah, 15 minutes is a while. And why they didn't just call police right away after hearing the gunshot is also odd to me. My Room says, I get why the security guard wouldn't go into the room unarmed, but you'd think he at least had a walkie-talkie or some way to communicate to others to call the police while he stayed up to watch the door. Anything but fleeing down multiple floors and leaving the area unguarded. Let's see. Curtain Call says he did have a radio. I can't remember if they talked about it in the show or if I read it somewhere after watching, but he said he didn't want to use it because he didn't want to alert the entire staff. That's really fishy to me. Why wouldn't you want to alert everyone as soon as possible when you hear a gunshot? Yeah, that's fishy to me too. I mean, I get it. You don't want to start like a stampede or anything, but like there are things more important than getting everybody scared, okay? Like when you hear a gunshot, like everyone's life is at stake here. Even if only one person in the end was shot, Everybody is at risk the moment you hear that gunshot. This dude should have said something over the radio. Little Monster 93 says, why would the security go into a room after hearing a gunshot from inside? He doesn't know what went on in there. He would put himself in danger by going in, assuming if it was a homicide. He did the right thing by leaving the scene ASAP and get backups. Call the police, maybe not taking 15 minutes to get backups, but going in the room alone, especially unarmed, is not the best option. Okay, so maybe don't go in the room, but at least wait out there in the hall. Use the radio, wait, see who comes out. Like, something's going on. Like, that pisses me off too. This whole thing pisses me off. Let's see. Hanava's Eel says, yeah, I wonder if she gave a F-ton of cash to do it, enough cash that whoever took the bribe wouldn't admit to it because I didn't want to give the money back. Digitize Me Fred says that was my first thought too, like she probably just bribed them with cash. Let's see. Squirrel Emergency says, from what I've read prior to seeing this episode, was that they did talk to staff. It was mentioned at one point that it was very busy that night. She checked in, and they think it was simply overlooked, and she didn't give ID or payment. Something the show didn't mention either was that there was, if I recall correctly, 2 separate occasions they tried to reach her about lack of payment before sending the security guard. They had an automated system that notified them the front desk needed to speak to them. Not sure about the first, but I believe the second, they said someone in the room pressed OK to make the message go away. I don't remember that, actually. So maybe that was in something else. Yeah, because they said in something prior to seeing the episode. So, yeah, I don't know about that part. Let's see. Well, I'm not going to read this person's name, but they said she had an in. She was either a spy sent there to meet a contract like a politician, or was a high-end prostitute that met with prolific clients like politicians. They could easily know the hotel owner or pull some strings to let people like Jennifer to check in undisturbed under a fake alias. The hotel security guy who originally knocked on the door could have been in on it, and the knock was a signal that the coast is clear for the murder and that the perpetrator had 15 minutes to leave in peace. Why wouldn't the security guy go in after hearing the gunshot aside from being scared? Person with the funny but inappropriate name. That's a good one too. Maybe, I'm beginning to think maybe she could have been, a high-end prostitute or something. These theories are actually convincing me a little bit. Let's see. Esclius says, it felt so strange that right when he knocked, the shot was fired. Would a hitman risk giving away their presence like that and the possibility of someone barging in? Wouldn't a professional hitman also use a silenced gun? What if other guests came out of their rooms and alarmed to check if something happened? Sounds too messy to me. And then funny but inappropriate name again says, only thing I can think of aside from knock being a go-ahead is that the shot occurred to potentially scare the knocker off as a last-ditch resort for the murderer to leave the room. Reading the real case files, apparently 2 shots were fired into the mattress that night. Maybe the second one after the security knock that went into the pillow was a warning to the knocker to leave. This also supports the theory that she was knocked out before she was killed. Chloroform has a acrid acidic smell. I don't think this was a suicide at all. Oh man. Yeah, I'm getting terrified now. Like, I'm looking over my shoulder, like I'm really scared. Like, I'm down here in my basement, guys, and I am terrified. Like, this is really freaking me out. I want to know what you guys think. I want to know what you guys think happened. Like, just like, I'm at a loss here. Like, who was she? Why did nobody recognize her? Even if she was an agent or a prostitute, like, you would think like somebody would say something like, yes, this is our daughter, this is this person, this is my friend. Like, you would think that. So why is she a Jane Doe? Why? What do you guys think? It's a really weird case, and it's got me just really stumped and freaked out, guys. But anyways, I hope you guys all have a great day, and please don't forget to check out my books 100 Days Till Halloween down below in the description, and just have a great day, everybody. Peace.